Welcome to this online lecture about writing a research article. In this lecture, I will give you how to structure the research article, and I will also give you general and critical writing tips to improve your writing. The structure of a research article or report is as follows. You first start with an introduction, then literature review, that's followed by a methodological section, then the results, followed by discussion and the conclusion, and in the end, at the end of the report or article, you have the references. So my advice is to put this structure in a Word document and start with this outline, and then already try to fill in the story that you want to tell in bullet points or short sentences. Then critically look at the claim or the aim of your paper. Think of what would you like to show, tell people what you explored, or do you want to give an overview, and think of your research questions and hypotheses. Are these still correct? Do you need to change things? Once you have this clear, you can write the main message of your article. Why is it important that people read this article? What is the value? Why is it important that you investigated this? What's the reason of your research? And what is the main insight that you found? The results. Once you have your main message for your paper or your article clear, you don't start with the introduction. You go straight to the methodology to describe what you have done. This is because it's an easy section to start with. It's easy to write down what you did. Of course, not what you intended to do and did not happen. So don't copy-paste this section from your final plan. So write down what you actually did and use the past tense for this section. And then the structure of the methodological section is starting with the participants. So describe who participated in your research, the actual amount of people that participated. Be really precise about this. Then include the materials if you used any stimuli, did you use any apparatus, or did you use workshop materials. Describe these also in your methodological section. Then describe the procedure, which steps did you follow, describe this for each method that you applied, and then end with the data analysis. How did you analyze the data? Did you use codes? Did you do quantitative analysis? Whatever you use, you can describe it here. So if you're done with describing your methodology and describing all the aspects of participants, materials, procedures, and data analysis, you continue with the results section. And this may not be as easy as it may seem, because it's not just putting in your results in there in a raw form. No, you have to do something with it, but you have to prevent drawing conclusions too soon, too early. It's a part where you tell the story of your data, but avoid strong interpretations, opinions, and conclusions. Furthermore, you write this part in a past tense, and you can use quotes from your data, from interviews or surveys, to illustrate themes of your qualitative data analysis. What you don't do is show raw data or only show bar charts. After this, you start writing or rewriting your introduction and your literature review. You can use old material, but also be aware of the new focus of your article. So start with your aim or your claim. Start from there and start writing the introduction and the literature review. Like I said, you update your original literature review with new materials or with the refocus of the new claim or aim that you want to tell in your article. And yeah, my advice to find more literature is to ask the experts that you interview or have interviewed, or of course again Google Scholar or the university website. You end your article with a conclusion, and in this section you summarize the main part of your article. From your results, you deduct an answer to your research questions. You can write about your personal opinion or insights or interpretations in your conclusion. You can discuss the limitations of your work. You can also do this in a separate section called the discussion, but you can also write this in the conclusion. And finally, in the conclusion, you also look forward towards the future. What else can be studied? What can we do with the results? What are the implications of this research? That's what you also write about in the conclusion. And conclusions should be short, not too technical. It should explain the value and the meaning of the results. Don't add new details, but just summarize what already has been said. It could be an overall interpretation, and it shows the relevance of the article. And of course, it repeats the main message to the reader. So to summarize, you write the article, the report, starting with an introduction where you state the problem, the purpose, and the research aim. You give a literature review in which you have an updated version of your literature review. You have a methodology section. You explain the methodology used and you support this where possible with literature. You have a results section where you present data and you compare your data with other studies. And then you have a discussion and conclusion, or two separate sections. And in the discussion section, you talk about reliability, validity, and discrepancies of your research. And in your conclusion, you summarize and you give answers to your research question. And of course, you have at the end a reference list where you use the APA style for your references. So this was about the structure of your research article and what to write in each section. And now I'll continue with some general writing tips and editing tips. So always refer to your sources, also sources of your data. For example, you have interviews in your appendix, refer to them. If you have data in tables, refer to those tables. And if you have quotes or facts from literature or websites, you of course cite them and add them to your reference list. Then another tip is to double check your style. If you have spelling errors or you have grammatical errors, check this carefully and do this again. And also pay attention to your punctuation. If you're not a native speaker, then often the punctuation rules of your own language are different from the rules in English. So check this as well. If you write a research article, you also have to adopt a critical writing attitude, and this can be achieved by formulating arguments. And arguments are reasons that give support towards a conclusion. And these reasons include evidence, principles, or assumptions. So be clear about, is it either evidence or is it an assumption that you have? And write this clearly. And the conclusions include facts, judgments, or recommendations. So adopt these things in your writing. And once written down, evaluate your arguments. Question if the things that you state as truths, is this really a truth, or is it right, or what is wrong? Is it only persuasive language that you use above a real reason? So be clear about, is the reason real or is it based on an assumption and you want to persuade the reader? And be aware of experts that claims things and you state them as truths. Also check this with literature and verify their statements. And also make use of your own values, assumptions, and interests when you write about work of others. and make these explicit when you use that from your own perspective, your own opinions. And yeah, be skeptical in generally of claims or writings of others or claims of others. Okay, so I gave you a lot of tips and recommendations, and this might overwhelm you when you start writing. My advice is to write without fear. Just start writing, whatever comes to your mind. And then once you start editing, it is time to be critical. So I want to finish with some editing tips, and I found this figure on Pinterest. I think it's designed for a certain class or school, but I think it has at least the first 10 are useful editing tips. First of all, give it a rest, sleep over it, and then check everything. Read it out loud, that's helpful because then you notice mistakes easily. Do a spelling check, of course, with the spelling checker of Word or whatever program you use. Print it out and then read it again. And number 5 is read it backwards, which I find interesting. I never tried this, but it seems worth a shot. And number 6 is to check for each kind of error at a time. I usually do this in Word itself with the search function. I search for certain words and then I can check if it's a mistake or not. And then circle verbs. I think this is also interesting. I never tried it as well, but I think especially if you have to write in a certain tense, this is useful. Check punctuation. By circling it, you can also check whether if you use the right commas or other punctuation things. Check names if you spelled them correctly, and you can do this by creating a master list, print this out, and then use this to correct the names. And check for adjectives and adverbs. Are they helpful in, or can you find stronger verbs or stronger words that could replace them? Or are they really unnecessary? Are they making it a bit more flabby, like a bit more? Or yeah, very or actually, these kind of words, remove them. And then it says also remove the name of the school. Which I also see often used in your writings, to use the name of the school. Maybe only use it once. And eliminate words that are making it really time constrained. So, for example, this year, state the actual year 2017. And then some final tips. Paste the text in Google Translate and find mistake by hearing it out loud. Remove flimsy or flabby words like very, actually, literally, basically. And if you Google this, then you can find more words that make text less strong. And I would, yeah, recommend this site. I love this site, Writer's Diet. I often put pieces of text in there and then see which words make my text flabby, and then I am often inspired to write better sentences. So I hope this lecture gave you a bit of insight in how to structure your research article, and I hope these tips are helpful for you. There is more on Blackboard that can help you writing the research article. Use the style guide, of course. And yeah, there is so much information on the internet on to write well and how to edit. Yeah, go and explore and improve your writing.